In this question, we are given an array. Return true if it can be made strictly increasing after removing exactly one element, or false otherwise. My initial thought to approach this question is to go through this array using a loop and also set a counter up front. If we see a current element is smaller than the previous element, we will increment the counter. And after going through the loop, we will check if the counter is larger than 1. These are my initial thoughts. Let's take a look at the solution. To remove exactly one element, there are 2 scenarios. The first scenario, for example, if the array is 1, 2, 6, 3, 4, here 3 is the current element, and the 6 element needs to be removed. So we will just remove previous element, which is 6. The first scenario is easy. The second scenario is a little difficult. It's also very tricky. For example, if the array is 6, 7, 2, 8, 9, and 2 is the current element. Here, 2 is smaller than 7, but 2 is also smaller than 6. So 2 is the element that needs to be removed to make this array strictly increasing. We are going to remove current element, which is 2. So when we see the current element is smaller than the previous element, we also need to compare if current element is also smaller than the I-2 element. If that's the case, then we will return current element instead. Okay, let's take a look at the code. Initially, we set the counter equals to 0, and then we set a loop to go through the array. The loop starts from 1. It's because we want to compare nums I with nums I-1, and we want to make sure I-1 is larger than 0. So the index starts from 1. Also, since the array will be strictly increasing, we will use less than and equals to, because even nums I equals to nums I-1 it still disqualifies. And after that, we will check the counter. If count equals to 1, which means we have exhausted the only one opportunity to remove one element in previous iteration, so we return false. Otherwise, we increment the count. Then we compare nums I with nums I-2, which is the second scenario. We are comparing 2 and 6 in this case. And if nums I is less than or equals to nums I-2, we will remove current element. How to remove current element? Here we are assigning the previous element to the current element. In the example, it's the equivalent of assigning 7 to 2. And it's the same idea as bridging the gap between 7 and 8 and 9. So we can compare the previous element, which is 7, with the rest of the array, which is 8, 9. In this way, it's the equivalent of removing current element 2. So after the loop, we can just return true. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching my video. If you like the content, please subscribe to my channel